You're watching Spotlight, a production of Culture in Maine, York's cultural showcase. I'm Carla Christopher, poet, publisher, and producer. Join me, along with editor, musical guru, and video extraordinaire Jay Schmuck, plus wild outdoorsman and videographer, along with technical extraordinaire Cliff Kern, and all of our friends as we go behind the scenes and get into the underground of what's really going on in the arts and cultural amazing explorations that are happening in South Central Pennsylvania. You'll see everything from art to music to dance to theater, and you'll also get to meet the people who really make it happen, find out how and why, along with some great studio performances, some amazing on-the-street footage. You'll also get the real story, and that's what we're here to shine a spotlight on. Let's go. Welcome to another fabulous episode of Culture in Maine, and I am super excited to have a very special creative joining us today. Nick Fulz is a performance artist of the highest caliber and is actually a major title holder for being able to do the kind of performance that he does. Not as Nick, but most often as Sarabesque. So, how exactly did Sarabesque come to be? I mean, when you were little, were you like, you know what? I feel like drag is the form of creative expression that is just waiting for me to walk out into the world in?
Well, I've always been involved in lots of performance aspects. I've been a dancer all my life since the age of 3. I've been involved in theater, and learning about different theatrical performances, drag just became a higher element, something I was excited to try. And they always say that a lot of drag queens pop up on Halloween as their first try because everybody's like, oh, it'll be fun, throw on a wig, throw on some makeup.
Amateurs.
Amateur night. And you know what? And sometimes that's how you got to discover things. Being involved in theater, learned about like La Cage aux Folles and
Yes.
I'm trying to remember the bird. No.
Yeah, the Birdcage was the American version for the non-French speaking in the audience.
Yeah, and like I watched films like that. Being involved in theater just added different elements of performance that I wanted to try, and I met my very first met my first drag queen who became my drag mother at like, I want to say 16 or 17. Doing a performance of Grease in Baltimore, where I'm from. They showed up in drag, and I was just like, wow, you're beautiful. Who are you? And then I realized it was a man in a dress.
See, now I feel like I do remember being younger and watching these movies like Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, or
another one.
Paris is Burning, and seeing these amazing dancers and performers who were, I mean, masters of makeup, of costumes. I mean, it was like the best of Vegas. It was like the best of pageant life. It was like living with the volume turned up. And I thought it was so beautiful to see, you know, this drama, but it was man-sized. I mean, this was something that, these were headpieces that, you know, these larger, stronger bodies could carry. These were, you know, this was makeup that was a beautifully, flawlessly done makeup, but on these wonderfully strong features that could really show it off. And it was so dramatic and striking. And I loved that it was not necessarily the same thing as seeing a woman do the same thing. Mm-hmm. It was seeing someone who could bring both energies into what we typically have women do in society, but could bring this whole other flair and flavor to it.
Like a Vegas showgirl to the nth degree with masculine with masculine features that have been like compromised to female expectations.
Yes, but you know, I also have heard plenty of people say that, you know, it's female impersonation as a specific art where the idea is to be as close to a female appearance as possible. So I guess, which is it? Like what's the reason why this performance, this theater, this makeup, this costuming, where having a male appear as a female is this necessary part of it? Like, why are we doing that? What is the point of that? What does that add to the performance art part?
I just think entertainment on the whole is magic. It can be male to female transformation. It can be female to male transformation. Drag kings, drag queens, female. There's a slight difference between female impersonation and being a drag queen. A lot of time, people view drag queens as more dramatic makeup, more dramatic costuming, and female impersonation is getting as close to a female illusion as possible.
So it's about the art of illusion. So they are different things.
I mean, I
don't think most people know that.
I don't define myself as a drag queen or as a female impersonator. I define myself as an entertainer. That way you can gather so many different elements and you can't necessarily be labeled under. It's like entertainment as itself is an umbrella that I like to fall under. One day I can feel super hyper feminine and do female illusion, and another day I could feel super campy and amp up the contour and use different colors and feel like, I mean, not that I've done that, because a lot of times I like to be more on the feminine side just because I think it's a classic look. I like the ability to confuse people with, oh, is it a man? Is it a woman? But being able to pull different elements from theater, from comedy, and like amp up the volume, as you said, to be a drag queen, I could do something campy, and people are like, oh yeah, it's a dude in a dress, but it's entertainment. Like, it's an umbrella that you call entertainment, and that's why I call myself an entertainer as opposed to a female illusionist or a drag queen.
I mean, as a writer, which is what I do most of the time, the art of the surprise, catching people off guard, presenting something in a way that people are not used to seeing it, it is how you get folks open. It's how you catch them off guard enough that now they're invested.
And it can be hit or miss. But like, That's
true as a writer too, unfortunately.
I mean, as an entertainer, you got to take those risks. You know, that's part of the game. It's part of the gig. It's part of the environment, and it's part of the lifestyle. As an entertainer, you do things that are expressive or creative, and it may resonate with some people, and other people may find it offensive. You got to take that risk. You know.
See, I love the idea of taking risks. I don't always love it in real life.
Same.
But especially doing, in York County, in a place that has a ton of really creative, amazing people and talented people, but not always the most open of minds in terms of really edgy performance art. That vulnerability, that anxiety, how do you balance that with being able to take risks on a stage in a place that may not always understand what it is that you do?
I think it takes a level of confidence. Personally, like, I know I have anxiety. I know I have depression. I know that affects who I am on a day-to-day basis. And it sucks. I'll be honest. It really does suck. Sometimes no amount of medicine or meditation or like, there's nothing you can do sometimes. And art is really an outlet for a lot of people. I know I personally view what I do entertainment-wise as a form of self-love and self-care, something that's appropriate, that helps me go on with my day-to-day life. I am constantly thinking of new performances, whether or not it's going to affect a certain audience member in particular or the entire audience. By example, there was a review show that we did. This was prior to the Miss Gay Pennsylvania America pageant. We did a Meet the Contestant review show where all the contestants did like 2 numbers, and we invited a lot of people out. It was at Stallions in Harrisburg. And all the entertainers did a number or 2 just to kind of show the audience what they're about, what they can present, or some just did it because they wanted to do a fun number. I put a lot of thought into my one number. Obviously, I'm a huge dancer, dance addict. Yeah. Whatever. One of my numbers was extremely high energy, extremely preppy, extremely perky. My personality when I'm in drag a lot of times is very like outgoing and very extroverted. But my second number I put a lot of thought into. Demi Lovato had just come out with the new song Sober, And
That's a really powerful song
It-
about her dealing with addiction and depression
it was
and
crazy.
mental illness.
It resonated with me so heavily. The first time I heard it, I could not stop crying. And I took advantage of a friend of mine who is a voice recording artist, and I used her to, like, I kind of sat down and wrote out a whole speech, and then eliminated like the over detailed parts and just narrowed it down to maybe 30 seconds of a speech that I had her record, and I put on the track prior to the numbers starting. And it was very like, sobriety isn't just about alcohol. It's about things that aren't just physically affecting. It's also about mental illness, depression, anxiety, not just reliance on alcohol. But I actually put my own personal life out there by saying that I had a problem with depression, where I was I wouldn't say a habitual cutter, but like I was a person who cut themselves. And it was just a huge moment for me to say, this is my story, this is who I am. And then I played the track. Yeah, it got super emotional. I was crying during the number. Everyone was like, wow, like you're so energetic and so happy-go-lucky half the time. No one sees that side of you. And I'm like, and that's why I keep it so hidden. Like I try to keep that at home and not let it affect my performances, but sometimes you just gotta take that risk and put that emotion and like roll it all into one and put it in a performance, just to utilize your outlet and that's what I do with drag and dance. Like it was so emotionally releasing, and I just felt so much better after it, and everybody understood, like, oh my God, that's who
you are.
That's part of who you are. Like that happens with celebrities and entertainers all the time. You don't always see their personal life, which is why you see the paparazzi going after them. Like it sucks to have that invasion of privacy, but like sometimes things can't be left private. I mean, as much as you want them to be. And
especially not if you want to really help and touch people with your art. It's that balance of performance and reflecting people's stories back to them, but also sharing some of yours, which is interesting because that's the first place that I really saw you perform and get in there with the audience. Was not in a club, but was actually at a Quality Fest Junior with a bunch of teenagers.
Yeah.
So a Quality Fest Junior being, a youth event oriented towards mostly LGBTQIA youth, teenagers and their families, who just want to make sure that they're raising their kids really in an inclusive environment. And so we had, kid-friendly drag where there's, we've got Disney princesses and dance moves. And the most powerful part of that was seeing when you were like, you know what? I'm going to sit here in my outfit, I'm going to take my wig off, and I'm going to sit here and ask, how do you feel? What do you want to know? And those teenagers, those kids asking you questions and saying, I'm not really sure where I fit in. I want to find myself, and I'm struggling to find myself. I want to take risks, and I'm afraid. And they trusted you because they saw you being bold. They saw you sharing your story. They saw you talking. They saw you being open. They saw you being playful. They saw you pushing boundaries. And they had never met you before. And yet your willingness to take risks earned their trust. And they were giving you their story in a way that they hadn't given their story to anyone else I'd seen them with that entire day.
And you'd known them probably longer than
I
I had just met them that day, as opposed to knowing them a little bit longer.
And they were absolutely asking you things that they had not asked me or any of the other staff, because they saw something in you and in your performance that made them feel close to you, and they could ask you the questions they really needed to ask. And that was a transformative day for me, to see how drag is not just this amazing art form, but it's this amazing conversation that can get people to open up. So I'm excited now because aside from being this incredible performer, you are also now the current first runner-up Miss Gay PA, correct? So you are a huge title holder.
I'm going to Miss Gay America in about 2 weeks. The October, well, I took off of work October 1st through the 8th. The pageant is
Dun, dun,
the 3rd
dun.
through the 6th or 7th.
Whew, that's a
And
mega marathon.
yeah, a whole week off of work. Thank goodness I had paid time off accrued.
Ah,
Because,
yes.
honey, I'm gonna get paid while I'm on vacay.
What?
Well, it's not vacay. It was
Right.
a
It
lot. It was a
sounds like a
lot
lot
of
of work. Like, what's involved with the course of doing a pageant?
Depends on which pageant you run for. There's like bar pageants where you're local and it's not as much pressure, but you still want to, be perceived as a person who's right for the job. And that's kind of what
Sure.
Miss Gay America has been about. They do several different categories. I'll run them by you really quick, just so that you know.
Yeah.
So they start out with a male interview because they want to know. Lately they've developed more of a personable aspect as opposed to when you're applying for something like it's the position of the title holder of Miss Gay America and how you're going to be a good representative for them. They want to learn who you are as a person, but they also want to know that you have we want you to understand that you're going to have administrative duties. Over the course of the year, the new owners, Michael and Rob, they have turned male interview into something that's not as administrative, because there's a handbook you can follow,
Sure.
into something more personal as to how you're going to best represent the system, the formers, the people in the people who decide to run for the future, and how you're going to
You
influence
are a
people.
drag ambassador.
Ambassador, yep.
I love
Male
it.
interview, so they get to learn about that as who you are as a person, and then they start the pageant. There's a category called presentation, so it's kind of very visual and it's very theatrical, and you get to put a lot of thought into the theme of the pageant. For example, this year's pageant is mystical magical beasts.
Ooh.
And I'm not going to tell you guys what I'm doing. You'll just have to see. I'll bring back a DVD because this is my first year at Miss Gay America
Yes.
National Pageantry. So I'm gonna purchase a DVD or whatever they do
Heck
so that
yeah.
everybody can watch. I'm gonna be so caught up in the moment that I'm not gonna be able to sit there and take it all in at once. So I'm gonna have to watch. I'll just have to take in the backstage experience, and then whatever happens on stage, I'll
Right.
watch later.
Then we'll watch.
So male interview presentation. They have an evening gown portion where you get to be elegant and beautiful, and I love my evening gown that I'm wearing. I'll say that it's my favorite color, and the design is everything. I wore it for and one evening gown at Miss Gay PA, that category. I won that category in that evening gown, so I thought it'd be a safe bet to just take it.
Nice.
So you get to be regal, you get to be elegant. And then they also have a talent portion, which is personally my favorite because being an entertainer is my life. It's my outlet. It's my everything. So why not say that it's my favorite category? I get to put a lot of thought into how I'm going to be the best possible entertainer in that moment and get scored on it. And I can always, the way I look at it is, even if there are some critiques of what I could do better, it's going to help me grow as a entertainer. And then they also have a portion called On Stage Question, which at Miss Gay America for nationals, only the top 10 or 12, I can't remember if it's 10 or 12, I want to say it's 10. Only the top 10 answer on stage question to accumulate additional points to see who's going to fall into what, like who's going to win, who's going to get first alternate, etc.
Sure.
Because we don't have time for everybody to answer 50 questions,
Sure.
especially when there's 44 amazing contestants this year, several of which I've looked up to heavily.
Doing research.
The girls have been running for years, and they know this system in and out. So I'm a little terrified and nervous, but I'm excited because it'll be the judges' first look at me on a national
That's
stage,
right.
so I get a first impression. Like I'm running against girls like Alexis Mateo from RuPaul's Drag Race.
Wow.
Yeah, she's running. I'm running against some really big name girls that have been in the entertainment business for a while, and even some locals like the current Miss Gay Pennsylvania America, Jasleen Dixon, is a good friend and sister and comrade of mine, but she's some fierce competition, honey. I'll tell you, Miss Gay PA was not a joke. We were not playing around.
Yes. I love it.
We were only, I want to say it was 70 points off from each other,
Oh my
which
goodness.
when you have 5 judges, that's about maybe 10 or 12 points per judge in one category. So it could have been sprawled out, but I'm telling you, she's no joke. We're also running against a former Miss Gay Pennsylvania from not the previous year, but the year before that, Aida Stratton. So we've got some local girls that we know that we'll be friendly with, but we're also getting to network with newer girls, and a lot of them have been, like I said, in the game for years. So it's going to be I'll say this: one hell of a competition, and it's going to be
love it.
one heck of an experience.
Aww.
I'm excited. I'm nervous. I want to do the state of PA proud, even though I'm a first alternate. Jasleen said there are no first alternates. We're going as a team, and that's one reason why I love her. She didn't make me feel like I was a separation, and made us feel like we were a team effort going to represent the state of PA. So it's going to be fun.
Well, if you want to follow along on the race, you can absolutely check out Sarah Besk's Facebook page, where a lot of the material from the adventure at Miss Gay America will be streamed and will be happening.
I'll try. I'll be honest. I'll try and live stream some things. I don't know if they're going to limit cellular devices, like if it's going to be a thing.
Even if it's just backstage selfies, you know, you want to go back there and check it out. You do. And you can also find out where Sarah Besk will be performing and visiting when back in this region. So don't miss keeping up with one of the most dynamic performers in South Central Pennsylvania. All the info's on the screen as always. And I know that we'll have more to talk about with Nick, so don't worry. He will be back.
I don't want to say new venture. It's more of an old venture. It's just me getting back out into the community and actually finding a space for the kids to come find me. The store name is going to be Cornbread West. We'll be open from Tuesday through Sunday, 7 to 7 to start. Hold on, wait. Is that platforms? Not the old school platforms, but like regular hills. This is a space for my partners to get together, but for the kids to find me mainly. It's overwhelming. At first, me getting back out as far as a restaurant establishment, I was a little weary just because, what we went through in the past, trying to figure out, York City. But as soon as they saw me open the door, are you coming back? Oh, Miss April, it made me feel good. And it just, now it's pushing me. It's pushing me. Anything to provide these kids, these families with hope. When they see us or us opening a location, I want them to say, oh man, I want to see, that's something good coming. They don't know what, but they know something good because it's good people, good company. So when they come here, at least they know if I can't go anywhere else for a good conversation or to get a hug, they know they got us. I'm doing my part. I know my strength in the community is attracting kids. Just filling in the gaps for the parents, finding mentors and stuff like that, and also providing good food. This is a part of the food desert, so having access to good food is hard. So I think we kind of fill in the gap there and, making a home. If you struggled in the past, you went to jail, I've been to jail. A lot of people will never believe that. Not for a crime, for a fine, but we all ended up in the same space. But youth, teens going through juvenile probation, if they ever want to get into the field of culinary arts, I'm like, who else better to point them in that direction to me? They watch my ups, they watch me fall, they watch me, still push. So, hopefully I'll be that plug for them. Like, this is a community space. Like, this is your space. Like, you're going to help this space grow. You're going to sustain it, because, the love that they give us, we're going to give right back. It's nothing new. We just want to love.
I'm super excited to introduce our next guests, and that is plural guests, because just like it takes a family to raise a child, it takes a family to give birth to an amazing idea. And Ann Clark is an incredible activist and author, as well as educator and activist for the community. And when she came up with the idea for the Messages of Hope movement, because it is certainly more than a book. It is a community conversation. It is a social media campaign. It is now a book. There was this need for the community to come together. And so the community is represented in this book, as we'll learn in a few minutes, but so is also local Dynamo publisher Phyl Campbell, who came on board to be a part of bringing this idea to life. So we have both of them in the studio today so that we can figure out how Messages of Hope came to be. So, Anne, will you just tell us, what is Messages of Hope? Because this actually came out of another project and just ended up being its own thing. Like, what was our journey to hope? How did this even begin?
Well, thank you. First off, thank you for letting us be here. We appreciate it.
So excited that you're here.
It's exciting. So I always say that God gives you pieces before he gives you purpose.
Ooh.
And so, yeah, that's a good. But really what happened was a few things happened in a row that sort of led us here in a short amount of time. In the spring, me and you had some conversations along with some other leaders, and we both, I think you remember this, we just had an agreement that it was a really tough time in York and in our country. And so one of the things that I was sitting around thinking was, what could I do? And so on Sundays, I started sending text messages to different leaders in New York and just saying, hey, I really appreciate what you're doing. I see you. And the response was huge. Like, people were like, I really needed that. And so I just kept doing that for months and didn't really think too much about it. And then I finished my book. It's called The Journey of Hope. It's not out yet. It's at another publisher, right? And I asked a couple community leaders if they would share their message of hope for my book. And really, overnight, I was really like, on my heart, I'm like, this is not the back of your book. This is its own book. And my publisher called me in the morning, and I said, I really have this great idea for a second book called Messages of Hope from York. And she said, well, we can't do it because you got to focus on this other book. And then luckily, I had lunch with Phyl that day. And it was the first time me and Phyl met in person. And I pitched the idea to her. And right away, without hesitation, Phyl said, I'll do it.
I love it.
Well, Anne is an absolute powerhouse. So she was sitting there talking to me in the restaurant. I was like, she's going to make this happen. If I want to be part of it, I better jump.
Get on board.
And so it was really easy for me to say yes, because I knew she was going to get it done. She was going to make my job incredibly easy. She was going to make me look so good. And I mean, look, she absolutely did. So to be able to be part of it, to help with that, was just, oh.
And it was the coolest thing. I mean, I saw you everywhere all summer. Every community festival, every large event that was happening, where people that were every race, every age, every economic level, you were there with the Messages of Hope table. So what Messages of Hope is, it's really, I mean, we're looking at photos and we're looking at quotes and thoughts and ideas and prayers, and these are all from York people, right? These are actually the messages of hope from people in this area about what they believe. I mean, was it hard for people to come up with positive and hopeful ideas in a crazy time like you said we're in?
The majority, no. The majority of people actually did have a message or something resonated with them. It was interesting, though, that a few people were like, the biggest conversation I had was people would say, you don't really want to know what I think. And I was like, no, I really do want to know what you think. And once I confirmed that for them, then they were able to come up with a message. They were, oh, my mom always said this, or my dad always said this, or a grandparent. And so that was sort of neat to see how that resonated. But it was really interesting for me to see just the backstories of every person in the book. And I got to know people on a different level, a much deeper level than I ever have before. And this has been a blessing to me. I mean, this has just been, these are the projects, some projects just do themselves, and this is definitely one of them. But this is a blessing to me.
How hard was it to put a book like this together? You know, when you're coordinating all these different voices and you're gathering all of them. I mean, it feels, I mean, there's photographs in here of just people from across the city. They have their messages of hope written. I mean, to me, this just looks like a tremendous amount of work to put together. It does.
I think the hardest thing for me is that Annie knows who almost every person in the book is. I still consider myself very new, and I knew about maybe a fourth of the people in the book. And if they went by a nickname or something, here I am looking on Facebook going, okay, how are they spelling their name here? And it's not always the same. Nick might have been Nick on one place and Sarah Besk somewhere else. And it's like, okay, how do they want to be represented in the book? And is it a one, other, or both? Is it this name or this name? Is it Anne or Annie? Is it Carla or Miss Christopher?
Right.
Is it the mayor of Waco? So figuring out their names and then who they are, and sometimes who they are is neighbor, friend, mother. Sometimes who they are is community activist. And both have equal weight in this
That's
book.
a good point. That's a good point.
That is so powerful. And that is something that, as you mentioned it, I really love. And that's something that's very interesting to me about why you had to be the one to write this book. Because your background is not necessarily as professional writer from the ground up.
No.
As someone who works in the school system as, a parent advocate and a liaison, you have contact with everybody because you're also super involved in local politics. And a lot of people I know recognize you and know you from all your activism, and know you from your community work around children's education, but also around politics and voting rights and making sure that people get out and vote. You've got pastors and politicians, and you've got, big wigs from nonprofits and corporations, and you've got kids from the neighborhood and kids from the schools in here. This is one of the widest cross sections. I mean, how do you move in all these different spaces? I mean, that just, it
She
makes
does
me
it
feel
gracefully
dizzy.
like a dancer.
Oh, thank
I kind
you.
of barrel through like a bull, but she does it like a dancer.
Well, I think one thing is that, I always say to people, I know where I come from. And, I don't lose track of that. I'm a girl that grew up on North Queen Street.
Yes.
I'm an immigrant child, first generation, second generation. And, but I'm a Yorker, I always have been and I
Claim
always
that.
will be, So I think that's one thing is just longevity. I mean, if you live in a community for 50 years, you do know a lot of people. And then it's just my nature to be friendly. And I really do like people. I mean, I know people say that, but I genuinely
She really
do
does.
like
You really do.
people. And I really like to hear their stories. And I think that, and I realize I do feel like we've done a great job for this first book. And I know that we have even a wider group for the second book. But now we're looking at the third book and really saying, how do we go deeper? How do we go even deeper to the people that, and seek them out, which I did try to do in this book, was I did try to seek people out. I think that I was aggressive with that. 292 people were in the book.
Wow.
343 messages. To me, a first grader's voice, to me, is just as valuable as the mayor's voice. I mean, to me it is. I know to somebody else that may not be the case, but for me it really is. And, the woman who walks up to me in Penn Market and says, you don't want my message, is just as valuable to me as the commissioner's message. Yes, I do want your message. Because if I'm not speaking to her or that child, who am I really speaking to or for? And I really want us to be that community. If I'm not reaching down and finding the person who needs raised up the most, what am I doing this for anyways? And that's what this was all about. This was about recognizing that people are in need and that I personally, and then with the help of Phyl and Randy, you now promoting the book and helping us spread the message that I personally could do something that affects just that one person. And I don't want us to forget that because sometimes our work is big.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
we
it is.
forget sometimes about just, our impact can be of one person, but for that one person, it's the world.
Now, one of the things that I really did want to ask both of you, because I get so many folks that come into my life or the events that I do or the spaces that I work in, and they have a hopelessness. They feel like they don't know what their gift is, or that it's too late for them to discover their gift. And one of the things that I love about both of you is your ability to reinvent and your belief in reinvention. That as a publisher and as a writer, you have both created these completely new avenues of creative expression that are really just changing, just life-changing in the community. And it was not the job that you necessarily started with. That was not the path that you first started on. How did you find your purpose? How did you figure out this is a way that I can help the community, kind of creating this calling out of the ashes of something else? I mean, I know that people sitting at home want to know, like, how did these amazing women who figured out this new job, this new calling, this new ability, when it wasn't the ability that they grew up being educated in or being nurtured in or being supported, and now, over the age of 30, figured out this is something that I can do?
You want to go first?
No, I think you should go first.
Well, I didn't go to college. I didn't finish college. It really started until I was 37. I did go out of high school, but I was a teenage mother at 19, and I had to work full time to, take care of my daughter. And I couldn't handle all of it. I'm real honest about that. And then I just parented for the next, well, I'm still parenting.
Yeah.
But at 37, I decided to start going. We're always parenting. One started. And became, more educated. And I'm not saying they have to be educated to do books like this. I don't think that at all. But I do think it allowed me to understand my ability more. So I don't think you're ever too late to go to school. I would, and then I don't mean even formal. It could be taking a class. It could be sitting and have a conversation with us. Like, I have a little workbook parents. I do with our parents. It's pretty easy. I think that people need to really just be quiet. I think we're so noisy all the time, and that's something I had to learn about 6 years ago. My mom got sick. I credit her for this book and the other book that I wrote because she got sick, and I had to go to California and stay there for 2 months. It was the first time in my entire life that I was alone, and I really had to decide if I even liked myself. And there were some things I didn't like about myself.
That's real.
That's real. And so I just got in my head that I was going to go on a mission to change those things. And most of it was living in sort of fear of failure. I had been successful in lots of ways, but not really authentically, not like this successful, not other people successful, right? And so just knowing. And then I think one of the things that me and Dr. Hart talk about a lot growing up very poor is you never feel like you arrive. No matter how many awards you have on the wall or degrees or accomplishments, your mind is always, what's the next thing? And I think that's just from living in extreme poverty is that, you just, there's sort of like a hole in you that you will never fill. And maybe God gives us that so that we go beyond saying, okay, like that was 24 hours later, I'm saying, okay, well, now I have the next book. It took me a year to write, it took me a lifetime to write the first book.
That's true. 1
year when I put pen to paper. And within, 24 hours and within less than 2 months, we wrote a whole other book.
Crazy.
It's crazy. And that's where I want to say to people that I want you to get started. You're never too late to start. But I do want you to also get quiet because God will tell you what you need to do. You just have to get yourself quiet and just listen. And I can tell you that, and I'm sure you found this, many things we're supposed to be doing are so hard and not necessarily fun. There's a lot of pain and change.
Yep.
But I would want people to reach out to me, and I know that you're like that. I know Phil's like that. Anytime somebody wants to, they're like, Annie, I'm ready. And people call me all the time for their projects. I love that. I'll help anybody do a project. That's what we're supposed to do. For nothing. I just want to, because people need help.
That's true. Sometimes people just need permission to have their dreams.
That's powerful. That needs to go in the
permission.
next book. You have permission to live your dreams. That's great.
okay, I need a recording of this, and I'm going to play it, and I'm going to be writing all the
Over and
nuggets
over.
down.
Yes.
Oh, I went to college. My education was much more traditional. I knew what I wanted to do. I was going to be a school teacher, and that was what I was going to give back. Because I was so poor, my school was paid for, and I was okay. This is what I'm meant to do. And then I got married and had a kid, and life said, no, you're going to be a mom now. Enjoy. And you're going to move around a lot. And you're going to find yourself over and over and over, and nothing's going to fit quite right. So you need to go find yourself, sit back in a little room, and just write a whole lot. And, okay, so I did the author thing for a while, but I missed teaching. And I had done some tutoring, and I'd done some ESL teaching, and I spent a year with AmeriCorps. I'd done lots of different things trying to find where I fit. But then a 9-year-old's mother knew that I was a published author, knew that I published myself. And she said, my young man has a book, and he probably needs to have it cleaned up a little bit. And I don't know anything about anything. Can you help him? Like, is there a camp he can go to this summer? And I said, hold on a minute.
There's a piece.
And I called around, but I was pretty sure there were writing camps, but not camps for publishing. And I called her back and said, okay, so there's nothing yet, but can we try something? And she was like, if he's not getting anywhere else, what could it hurt? And so I started, I guess it was 3 years ago, with 6 kids in a coffee shop around a table, and we made books. And it took us about 6 weeks to get that process started. And it's one thing to publish a book for yourself.
Yeah.
And Carla, you know it's a whole other thing to help
yes.
someone else who may or may not know what they want. Now, kids are very forgiving, perhaps more so than older people who have all a lifetime of dreams that they want to put in a single 800-page volume of, Pica 8 font.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
But seeing those dreams, and I tell parents it's the new lemonade stand, to take something that they have created and they are so stinking proud of. So my youngest published author was 6.5, wrote a book about rainbows. And when I came here every time I've moved from that original experience, I've got to get these parents to trust me again, get these kids to, because I'm not acting as their 3rd grade teacher. I'm not acting as their 6th grade teacher or their writing specialist at the school. I am totally outside, totally private, doing my thing, like they would go to piano lessons or gymnastics or something like that, but for writing. And don't they do that at school already? Aren't they tired of that? Well, but it's not the same.
No, it's not the same.
So I came to York and, took some time to try to figure out, okay, who am I going to be here? And that took me about a year to figure out. And then Annie and I had a lovely conversation, and just so much that we knew we both wanted to do. And I was like, this is a person who can help me be the unstoppable me that I had lost.
I'm a champion for women. That was sweet, wasn't it? She never said that before. I love that.
I know. And I know that, I'm feeling a little emotional right now, but that if people want to come and put their hands not just on the book, but on being able to meet the two of you and being able to really just hear the messages of hope coming straight from you, that you are still out in the community with this and with the idea of messages of hope and encouraging people to have hope, to believe in their dreams and reclaim their stories. And I love these little booklets are just the cutest thing. And they have a space where people can write their own message of hope, but also where you'll be. So you'll be at First Friday Latino on First Friday in October, which is being held at CASA's headquarters at 225 East Princess. That's a great space. I know they have voter registration and classes and all kinds of things. So you'll be there on First Friday from 5 to 9 doing the official launch of the book, along with lots of other cool activities that are happening there that night.
Now we'll have the booth set up that night so that anybody who wants to get into the second book can write their message, have their photo taken. The next book will have a lot more Latino representation in the book. If somebody writes in Spanish, it'll show up first in Spanish, then we'll put English underneath it, which is great. So we're looking forward to that night a lot. And, we want to thank Latino Unidos for opening up it was their venue and they're sharing it with us.
That's amazing. And then you'll also be at Ironic on October 12th from 5 to 9. So there is, and that's where we're really getting everybody from the process of the book. So for potential writers and potential people that have ideas and dreams they want to learn how to create, we'll have the publishers, we'll have photographers, authors, it's everybody that's there. It's all in. So for our potential other people that are wanting to create something that is a dream brought to life, much like this, they can come see you at Ironic at 256 West Philadelphia on October 12th from 5 to 9.
Yes.
That's an important one. And then I know I'm super excited for Ratchet Fest. And we're going to be learning about that on the show in a little bit.
Good.
So we get to have this amazing celebration, this urban life festival by Vellens, which is a super cool woman-owned and Latina-owned automotive
I just met
shop.
her last night.
So
awesome.
cool. Jasmine is amazing.
Jasmine is amazing.
And so we'll get to see you there. And that's from 11 in the morning until 6 o'clock at night. And that's 412 Norway Street. So Ratchet Fest needs to be on everybody's calendar. Everybody's calendar. It's going to be super, super, super fun. October 13th from 11 to 6. So there's lots of places. And now if people want to find you and they want to find the book because they want copies of these amazing messages, I know they can find the Messages of Hope Facebook group.
Yes.
Correct?
Yeah.
So do they just go to Facebook and
You just
and
type
look that
in,
up?
Type in Messages of Hope
from York, Pennsylvania, and it'll come right up. The exciting news is that we have members from 38 different countries who are following us right now. We're just below 4,000 members. California, Arizona, and Maryland have started their own pages. Oh, and New York. And so, so the next book is going to be Messages of Hope from York and Beyond. So we'll definitely have a large York influence, of course, but we will be including messages from people in other states this time. So that's going to be pretty neat. So I hope it continues to grow. I can't wait to see where we are in a year. March will be the deadline for the next book.
Perfect. So in closing, do you think you all could help me read a few of the messages that are in this book? I would love to hear in the compiler and publisher's voices some of your favorite messages.
Here's a friend that I grew up with, and I've known him since I'm probably 11. He says, "Hope is never giving up. It is the reason we find our way out of the darkness and despair. The smallest amount of hope can overtake any moment of darkness. Hope is the light." And that's pretty neat because he grew up right here in York City with us.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing. So many people in this book that just have beautiful, I love this. This was an 8th grader.
Yeah.
You know, I think hope is never giving up and to keep pushing forward. It also believes in you. When you're down and feel like giving up, pray for strength, guidance, and faith. If you fall, pray and get back up. You are not defined by your mistakes or failures or struggles. You're defined by how hard you bounce back from it all. I mean, an 8th grader had the
Here's a
ability to
5th
write
grader,
that.
Sebastian, who wrote, "Even the littlest things could bring out the biggest things."
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
There was another little girl, I think she's headed into the 6th grade, and she wrote, Don't say you want friends. Say,
Deja.
I'm going to be your friend, or I'm going to make a friend. So I love that. I think that's, of course, the children are, of course, my hope. But I really, just to see the wide range of people who took time to write and continue to write messages, not just that they wrote these messages. And I love every time it says, like, the person wrote the first message, like, this is their first message on the page.
Right.
And that's so neat to see that. I'm just glad that people are finding value, and they're all published now. So that's pretty neat to say.
Right?
that.
You just
That's
created
awesome.
a few hundred published authors
Yeah.
now. Ah, right?
Which
The
is
publisher's dream come true. Well, we will see you in the Messages of Hope from York Facebook. So make sure you join us in the group there. And we will see you at all the amazing special events that are happening across the county and the city over the next several weeks. So make sure that you check out Messages of Hope from York, Pennsylvania. Get your copy today. And if you have a dream, if you have a story, there are some amazing publishers just waiting to help you make it happen. Or if it's something besides a book, I hope that if you have a dream, you know that you do have permission to make it real. Thanks for joining us on Culture in Maine today. As always, I am your host, Carla Christopher, and you can find us online at Culture and Maine. We are on Facebook, facebook.com/Culture in Maine. We are also on YouTube at WRCT, White Rose Community Television's Facebook page. Just go to the Culture in Maine playlist and you can find all of our episodes there, or you can check us out at WRCT.tv. We are here every Thursday and plenty of other times, so just check your WRCT.tv listings and make sure to spend time with us exploring the culture and the creativity that's present here in South Central Pennsylvania. Be blessed.
Today on Ralph Reel's Home Invasion, we'll be invading Melvin's house. What's going on, y'all? It's Ralph Reel. It's Ralph Reel's Home Invasion. Yeah, I'm coming to eat your food, drink your drinks, play your video games. So yeah, man, we're at Melvin's house right now. We're gonna see what he's doing. So yo, let's go through here. Man, you guys just join a lot, but let's kind of go around the back. I know little things, little stuff. Come on, let's go. Ah, there it is. Cool. Yeah,
Ralph!
hey!
What up, man?
Well, what's up, man? How you doing? I'm just getting a little grubby.
When you get here?
About 2 weeks ago. No, I've been here for a little bit. No, I just came in a little
Oh, well, I gotta get ready for work, man.
Okay.
Hanging for a minute,
You mind?
Yeah, hell, well,
You mind?
Well, yeah.
You don't mind?
No.
You don't? Yeah. Alright, good. The food is great. I love the salad. The salad is amazing. I want to drink this too. And a couple of these bread things, I might want to take a little snack home for later.
Oh,
Okay.
all right.
Give you some love, brother.
I gotta get in the shower here.
You definitely do. I'm just gonna let you know. Yo, Melvin! Wanna take a shit? Let you know. It's gonna stink about, I don't know, 35, 45.
Take my hand, we'll make it, I swear. I like when you do that. You taking a shout?
Yeah.
Yo, Ralph,
Yeah.
I gotta go to work, man.
Alright, well, y'all decided to jump in the shower real quick.
Yeah, I hear you.
Alright.
Well, just lock up when you leave, okay?
You know I got you.
Well,
Hey, looking. Hey, you got some spray? I would hit that if I. That's all black people know now, that's all. But I don't know those verses. Put the sauce on sugar. Put the sauce. Sauce. I used to. Hey, minor. Mama fat. Melvin! Hey, minor, then be.
Well, isn't this show over yet? I'm sick of this fringe talk show crap. I'm peace and quiet at home. What's going on in here? Ralph!
Huh?
Again? Ralph!
What's that? Man, what's up,
going
man?
on, man? Who are these guys? What's going on?
Oh, my fault, man. I'm just having a little jam session. Yeah, I mean, look, right, a couple fellas over here having a little something.
What?
What's going on? What? You alright?
Where on my chicken salad?
Oh. Come and raid a house with me. Hey. We gonna eat and drink for free. We might even take a shower. Cause before I raid, I like to be squeaky clean.
Thanks for joining us on another amazing episode of Spotlight, a production of Culture in Maine, York's cultural showcase. We want to hear your ideas, and we want you to be a part of the show. Whether you're an artist or a fan, send us an email to cultureinmaine@gmail.com. Check us out on the web at wrct.tv, or make sure to find all of our past episodes on YouTube at youtube.com/White Rose Community TV. Thanks again for joining us, and have a great week. We'll see you soon, right here on the corner of Culture in Maine.
Now you know